Sadaqallahu al-Azim. My dear brothers and sisters, parables in Quran are extremely important. They are so important that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses them frequently to bring forth ideas that without the parables may not be crisp clear. However, there is a characteristic in the way we deal with parables that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala presents them and invites us to scratch the surface, to sift the surface component off, and then go a little bit deeper. Do some homework in order for us to understand what does this parable mean. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Ankaboot tells us, وَتِلْكَ الْأَمْثَالُ نَضْرِبُهَا لِلنَّاسِ وَمَا يَعْقِلُهَا إِلَّا الْعَالِمُونَ. And such parables we bring forth to people, however, there's a however here, only those with wit would understand their meaning. Therefore, we have to be prepared whenever an example is being given to stop and ask, why is it given? What does it mean? Actually, the ayah that I just quoted, وَتِلْكَ الْأَمْثَالُ نَضْرِبُهَا لِلنَّاسِ وَمَا يَعْقِلُهَا إِلَّا الْعَالِمُونَ, comes immediately after such a parable. And it is in Surah Al-Ankaboot, whereby Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ اتَّخَذُوا مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ أَوْلِيَاءَ كَمَثَلِ الْعَنكَبُوتِ اتَّخَذَتْ بَيْتًا وَإِنَّ أَوْهَنَ الْبُيُوتِ لَبَيْتُ الْعَنكَبُوتِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَعْلَمُ مَا يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِهِ مِن شَيْءٍ وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ وَتِلْكَ الْأَمْثَالُ نَضْرِبُهَا لِلنَّاسِ وَمَا يَعْقِلُهَا إِلَّا الْعَالِمُونَ. صدق الله العظيم. Let me translate or try to translate what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings forth in Surah Al-Ankaboot and elaborate on it a little bit, and then try to see where would that parable lead us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that parable of those who seek support and guidance from other than God is like the spider which builds a, here comes the difficulty in translation, because after we understand the meaning of the investigation that was done around this ayah, we would say that in the previous 29 translations of the Quran, Baytan in Arabic means house or home. And it was translated as house. اتخذت بيتا, that the spider built a house. And the weakest of houses is that of the spider. But that is quite misleading because it does not bring the meaning forward. You know, a researcher wanted to know, why does it say that the weakest of buyut, let us say buyut, houses, but it is not houses, is that of the spider? On the surface, if you see a spider web and you pass your hand through it, you cut it. But he did some physical experimentation and found, relatively speaking, that if you will bring the same thickness of steel and compare it with the thickness of the thread of the thread of the spider web is stronger in strength than the steel thread. The only thing that is stronger than the spider web thread is molten quartz. So the spider web is stronger than steel. But the fact that it is so thin and you can pass your hand through it, yes, you can cut it. But it is not that which is the weakness behind the structure of the spider web. And he went further and he studied the community structure of spiders within the web. What did he find? He found that the spiders, after the male fertilizes the female feeds on the male in order to get nourishment as she is getting bigger and building the larvae inside her. She eats that male that fertilized her. Then she gives thousands of larvae, little baby spiders. Now after they come out, they feed on their mother in order to get nourishment to grow. But as they grow, some will be strong, some will be weak. So the strong among them will feed on the weak in order to get growing. And then as they become adult spiders, the males among them will fertilize the females. And then the females will eat the males. And then the males will go and the females will grow and then the babies come and so on and so forth. So this is a community whereby the strong feeds on the weak. This is a community which is so feeble. It's not a community because it is so weak. When the strong eats on the weak, there's no community. And that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used وَهَنَّ وَإِنَّ أَوْهَنَ الْبُيُوتِ لَبَيْتُ الْعَنْكَبُوتِ. Therefore, buyut here is not the house, because the house is stronger than steel. But it is وَإِنَّ أَوْهَنَ الْجَمَاعَاتِ الْأُسَرِ أسرة أو جماعة العنكبوت. This is the secret behind the weakness of the spider web. So it is not the house, it is the home. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, وَتِلْكَ الْأَمْثَالُ نَضْرِبُهَا لِلنَّاسِ وَمَا يَعْقِلُهَا إِلَّا الْعَالِمُونَ. Stop, think about it, in order for you to find out what's behind it. Otherwise, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to tell us about the structure, we don't get much from that. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to use this parable to understand what a community is like. Don't make a community which is feeble, which is weak. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam warned us in a hadith, and he said, "Al-Muslimu lil-Muslim كالبنيان تكدس كالبنيان المرصوص يشد بعضه بعضا." Talking about now what a community is like. Each element of the community will give strength to other elements. You know, in this structure, when I left, it wasn't like this. Now it's so different. And I look at every brick here, and I say every brick is as important as anything else in this hall. It gives the strength to each other. And our community, in analogy, is the same. Each one of us is as important for the makeup of the community. And we have to strengthen each other. We have to be like what the Quran told us. وَالَّذِينَ مَعَهُ. Who are وَالَّذِينَ مَعَهُ? People said Sahabat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at the end of Surah Al-Fath, Muhammadur Rasulullah. And then there is, in the rules of recitation of the Quran, there is the letter Jim. You know the last ayah of Surah Al-Fatih. It says, Muhammadun Rasulullah. But before that, the ayah before ended with, وَكَفَى بِاللَّهِ شَهِيدًا. Suffice with Allah as the witness. And the ayah stops. Then there is another ayah that says, Muhammadun Rasulullah. This is the shahada. This is the witness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Okay. وَالَّذِينَ مَعَهُ. Those who are believers with him, the companions of Rasulullah as well as ourselves. Aren't we with Rasulullah in faith? We are. أَشِدَّاءُ عَلَى الْكُفَّارِ رُحَمَاءُ بَيْنَهُمْ. As a community of Muslims, we are strong, facing those who threaten our well-being, and we are kind to each other. And then it goes on to say, look at this, وَمَثَلُهُمْ فِي الْإِنْجِيلِ. The example, our example in the Injil, كَزَرْعٍ أَخْرَجَ شَطْأَهُ فَآزَرَهُ فَاسْتَغْلَظَ فَاسْتَوَى عَلَى سُوقِهِ يُعْجِبُ الزُّرَّاعَ لِيَغِيظَ بِهِمُ الْكُفَّارِ. That we are like a seedling that grows, then it becomes a bush, then it becomes a tree, as it is growing, as the trunk becomes bigger, فَاسْتَوَى عَلَى سُوقِهِ. We were able to stand on our own as a community. يُعْجِبُ الزُّرَّاعَ. Those who put the plant become happy. Now who are the zurra of our community? The older generation who established that tree would look at those who are coming behind them and will feel so good and would like to give the secret of what they've done so that the new cultivators and farmers will do the same thing, and probably they may do something to improve on the formula and on whatever they used to bring those plants out. That's why I was so happy coming back that an old farmer of our community, an old farmer brought his recipe of cultivation and put it together. And it's in a book, inshallah. And this will be brought to the world this coming Sunday. It has a recipe on how to build communities. I was so delighted that our community, inshallah, will continue not only with bricks, not only with mortar. You know, this renovation, this expansion is needed. But this does not make communities. This is not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask us about. This is just basically to put the, I don't want to say, I almost said the spiders. This could be the web, but we want something different than spider webs. We want to stand strong as a community and not try to hunt for each other's mistakes and look for him or her who is vulnerable and try to mention those mistakes instead of, look at this. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ taught us how to build communities by secretly going to him or her who is making a mistake and whispering in his or her ear and say, how about if we do this together and improve it? Without standing and spreading rumors and telling everybody so and so is, and we spread a rumor. And then our energy will be dissipated. And then some will be with and some will be against. And then we will start to quarrel with each other. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, وَلَا تَنَازَعُوا فَتَفْشَلُوا وَتَذْهَبَ رِيحُكُمْ. Do not fight with each other because your energy will be dissipated, will be gone. Instead of using this energy to build a community and reach out to the world and say, this is our example, come forward and emulate our, as we stand right now, People are saying anything but the Islamic example. Let me tell you, even little kids are avoiding our example, and let us not get upset. My son told me, he had in one of the subjects, the teacher asked them to just stand in front of the class and tell a story, just like this, without writing it. And one of his friends stood and wanted to tell a story about good people and bad people. And then he said, then the really evil person whose name is Muslim came and did such and such. That kid just heard it, and heard it a lot, and heard it more often than necessary. We're going to get angry. Now my son stood up and corrected that perception, said this is not right. You cannot do that. You cannot call the bad person Muslim. And there was a healthy conversation. And it ended with lots of goodness, alhamdulillah. But when we hear that we are vulnerable as a community, we cannot continue to waste our energy on things that will implode us from within. We need to stand up, and we need to strengthen the resolve of our children. Now in a couple of weeks they will be attending Jumu'ah prayer with us, and we need to share something to revive their identity and make them proud of who they are. We need to give them a positive message, and the parents have to continue at home. We have to tell them what does it mean to be a community, and you know what? If you go and tell them day and night what a community is, if the family they live in is weak and is in fights all the time, and the father and the mother are always at odds with each other, the kids will get conflicting messages. So again and again I say, please, husbands and wives, I know we are living in times that are so difficult to deal with. But you know what? If you really have to argue about something, I've said it many times before, try to put 7 doors to your bedroom. Go inside and lock all of them. Don't let the kids join in your discussions or arguments. They don't need to. They don't have to. And have taqwa in those kids. Don't just basically think of yourselves. And I'm saying this as an aside because it continues to grow. What is it that continues to grow? The problems within the minor community, within our big community, and that is the family. I don't know where we are heading. Husbands and wives need to reconsider. Not everything is resolved with separation and divorce. Not everything is resolved by trying to insist on showing who is at fault and who is right. Have taqwa in those children who need you. You did not bring them to life simply as a result of a physical relationship. They came to life so that you can exercise good parenting, so that you can teach them how to form a community, because if they see an example within their family, then they will understand what a community is like on a bigger scale. Our community needs to look forward to the future, and we need to re-examine where we are. I know we talked about community and the strength of community from different angles many a time before. But today I wanted to bring it from a different angle, so that at this time of challenging forces that are coming from every direction, we need to work together. Together. Not as a collection of individuals, but as the end product. When you put there are elements that do not react with each other. They are called a mixture. Young people who know physics and chemistry, when you put sand and iron and other elements that are not coming to my mind now, that do not react with each other, you get a mixture which can be separated by certain methods. We do not need a mixture to form our community. We need to form a molecule. A molecule is the product that is formed when elements that react with each other, they come and they attach, and you cannot separate them. It's already, that's it. We need to form a molecule. We need to have a chemical reaction, not a physical reaction. Let us come together and form a community. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم ويا فوز المستغفرين. Make دعاء الله سبحانه وتعالى. He will accept our دعاء. آمين يا رب العالمين. الحمد لله وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. My dear sisters and brothers, as the Quran was revealed at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as the ayat were being revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, certain ayat came in the past tense. In the past tense. And when we stand and examine those ayat, some of them, we would ask, why the past tense? One of them is an ayah in Surah Al-Imran. As the Quran was being revealed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Muslims, كُنْتُمْ خَيْرَ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتِ النَّاسِ. You used to be the best among nations. Ya Allah, but the Quran is being revealed now. Why you used to be? Why not أَنْتُمْ خَيْرُ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتِ النَّاسِ. You are the best of nations. God knows best. And the Mufassirun of the Quran gave different ideas. Why kuntum not antum? Because antum is a taqreer. Now if I read in the Quran, antum khayru ummatin ukhrijat lin-nas ya muslimun, I will be so happy, I will sit down, I will smile and say I am the best. I don't have to do anything about it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told me by the fact that I'm a Muslim, I am the best. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted us to know that the Quran was not only addressed to the people at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the Quran is addressed to us in the 21st century as it was in the 7th century. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted us to know that as we read that our ancestors used to be the best, what about the future? What about us now? Shall we continue to talk about Umar ibn al-Khattab and Khalid ibn al-Walid and Abu Bakr al-Siddiq and Abdul Rahman ibn Auf until when? Without using their example to extrapolate our curve to the future. You know, a community that talks with great enthusiasm about its past without the same enthusiasm about its future is a community that's making a curve that is going downward. But the community needs to talk in the same enthusiasm about its future. We've got to be able to believe that the young people sitting among us can be like Khalid ibn al-Walid and Umar ibn al-Khattab. There's absolutely nothing that stops them from being like the example of Khalid, who was before and became after. Like Umar, who was before and became after. Like Amr ibn al-As, who was before and became after. Like those big luminaries who were transformed. I love the statement by Sheikh Abdul Hamid al-Kishk, who said, Al-Islam, it changed people from عباد للحجر إلى قادة للبشر. Islam was able to change people from idol worshippers to become leaders for humanity. Please, let us believe that this is not something that cannot be changed, that cannot be emulated. That is why كنتم خير أمة, so that we can work to resume that khayriyah. Because Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what did he say? الخير في وفي أمتي إلى يوم القيامة. إلى يوم القيامة. So when we read كنتم خير أمة, and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said الخير في وفي أمتي إلى يوم القيامة, what does that mean? It means that we can continue that pathway that is going up, not down. So I would like our young people to come forward and build that community spirit, not like a spider web, but like something that will strengthen each other. And please, as we are strengthening the structure of our Islamic center, let us parallel and hand in hand strengthen the building of our community as nufus zakiyya, as spirits that can go nowhere but towards Jannah, inshallah. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وخطايانا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم علمنا من ديننا ما جهلنا وذكرنا منه ما نسينا وكن معنا ولا تكن علينا. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله العظيم يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. وأقم الصلاة.